Are continuing to try to clean up the city of Baton Rouge and parishes surrounding from the historic flooding that took 13 lives. One highlight of the floods was the Good Samaritan group, the Cajun Navy, who voluntarily rescued their fellow residents in need. One state senator wants to add more government regulation that could slow down future rescue efforts. Are new regulations needed for volunteer rescue efforts? Let's bring in Baton Rouge resident and member of the Cajun Navy, Rob Godet. Rob, thanks for being here this morning. And thank you for what you have done, and thank you for what you are doing.
Thank you for having me on your show.
And how would you describe the recovery efforts today?
Wow, there's so much to do. The recovery efforts are going to require thousands and thousands of volunteers from around the region to come in and help. And they're just really getting ramped up, and we need a lot of attention on that.
Rob, what you did was amazing. You're a hero. You helped coordinate rescue efforts between the volunteer boaters and those that needed help. How did you find and reach those that were in need? And again, these were just purely Good Samaritan efforts on your part.
Yeah, let me just say, I might be important, but the Good Samaritans are the real heroes. We use technology to do this. We used a mobile app to connect with the boaters, and we used a GPS app to see where they were, and we literally had people dispatching from their kitchen tables. Off of Facebook, we would get requests to send out a boater to pick a dog up out of a house. We would call that request. We'd actually vet it, call them, and say, you know, is this still active? And if it is, give us the address. And
Amazing.
We would dispatch a boater to the location.
Wow. And the Cajun Navy, you rescued hundreds in this flooding. How
Thousands.
important was the coordination specifically between the Cajun Navy and authorities? I mean, what can other communities learn from what you guys did to save people and animals and houses and cars?
What we can learn is work through the authorities. We really weren't having success on the early stage of this on Monday. We were being frustrated getting into the water. We stepped back, reevaluated, and kind of read what the authorities were telling us was have a deputy in your boat. So we regrouped. We met with the deputies at their staging area at Cabela's, where they were staging. We brought a box of donuts and some coffee, made friends with the deputy, and we had huge success. That's when the Cajun Navy was born, when we actually worked directly with authorities, and we didn't need to be licensed to do that. We did the right thing. We went and worked with the authorities.
Rob, you briefly touched on this, and of course, human life and saving those residents of southern Louisiana is the most important thing. But you guys did incredible work rescuing animals and dogs throughout that region.
That's right. I was actually contacted by the Louisiana Small Animal Rescue Team, which is a fantastic group. They saved thousands of animals, and there were many times they would call us and say, can you help us, you know, pull these horses to safety, pull these cows to safety, rescue cats, dogs, animals of every kind.
So thank you for that.
And so what do we need to know about what they're trying to do now to regulate these rescue efforts? I mean, Rob, you worry that when the government gets involved, that could slow down rescue efforts and future disasters.
You know, I think there's a little confusion about who the Cajun Navy is. Basically, it's definitely grassroots citizen boaters who got in the water. But the group that I'm with, we actually organized and looked at what we needed to do to operate within the law, within what was already established. As long as we do that, there's not a need for a new law. There were certainly boaters that just put their boat directly in the water when they could. They were being pushed back. They didn't have an authority. They didn't have a fire department.
Which is
they didn't
what specifically, Rob? What laws do you say that you were following? What guidelines are already set in place?
Well, we went to the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Department's website and read about what we needed to do to participate, and they said, basically, have a deputy in your boat.
Okay.
That was the directive that we followed that made us a success.
And you did that, yeah.
Rob, this is Kirsten Haglund here. I want to echo all the thanks here from the table for everything that you guys have done. Just talk a little bit about your motivation for doing this, because I think we all would hope that we would respond the same way in a situation, but you said that your success wouldn't have been possible without God being behind you. Can you, and obviously Louisiana's in the Bible Belt, can you talk about what has brought this community together and really what motivated you in these efforts?
We're obviously proud of the Cajun culture. It's a very unique community. My grandmother spoke Cajun French, and the Godet, my Godet ancestors came to the New World in the 1600s, and so the French language has been carried along family to family to family. It's a very tight-knit community, and so we're proud of who we are, and I think that's what gave us the motivation. You don't even think twice. If your neighbor needs their life saved, or they're hungry, or they need a bowl of rice, you know, you're gonna give it to them, and it's ingrained in our community, and you know, it's very a unique culture. Everybody has great cultures, you know, spread across the country, and there's unique parts of all of them, and it just happens the Cajun culture is very family-oriented.
Rob,
they're also sportsmen, and that's an important component.
Yeah. Rob, I hear you trying to describe that unique culture, and as a graduate of Louisiana State University, I lived in Baton Rouge several years. It's hard to describe, and I know what you're saying, but I've always said it's the most foreign place in the United States. And especially anytime anybody ever took me to their Cajun grandmother's house when I couldn't get home for Easter or whatever. It's amazing. So thank you for everything you did.
They want you back.
And thank you for everything that you keep doing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.